This is your weekend market review for Friday, March 14th, 2025. Let's go. Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max at ADBE Realty, aka the Trading Agent. This is your weekend market review for Friday. Man, weeks are moving quick. March 14th, 2025. Hopefully you're doing great. Want to talk about what's going on, what to expect for next week. This is going to be a good recap. Please grab coffee, get comfortable, and let's get into it. So as we talked about, the risk reward in the oversold position with the highest amount of puts I've ever seen, sentiments below. I mean, there's a certain party that is actually believing this is worse than the 2008-2009 crisis. Again, if you go look at market sentiment, you go look at the CNN fear and greed, pretty extreme. Now, this is why we talk about how to manage positions, but also get ready to anticipate potentialities. And this is what it gets so hard, is that when something's oversold or overbought, you just want to hold it. You want to hold it, but you got to actually trade it. You got to go against your greed. You got to go against negative emotions. And you really have to fight the idea that something moves in a straight line always. And so here we go. As we talked about, if you started hunting and you've been watching the recaps, leave a comment below. A heart if you watch the recaps. So we talked about this. There was certain indicators or certain things, not even indicators, certain stocks and certain sectors that were showing you, hey, we were due to bounce. Now, how high do we go from here? That's the question. What are the ideas? And we'll get into it because we know next week it's an FOMC meeting. You also know next week that decent amount of actually economic data on Monday and Tuesday. And so now that we know inflation's coming down quickly, true inflation is around 1.3% below the Fed's target. Can they start cutting rates? Well, I don't think at this point they're going to cut rates, but we'll keep an eye on it. Again, this is what we do. We keep you informed, keep you abreast of what is coming. So if you're new to the channel, check out the Discord room, link in the description below. I appreciate all the love, support, generous donations. You guys are great. If you want to claim a chat time, let's do it. Hit me up. Let's chat sometime. Love to connect. Also follow, like, subscribe, post and trades, ideas and thoughts on Twitter, and then plenty of education videos. And then if you hit the notification bell, you will be alerted of when this video is dropped. Again, you have to hit the notification bell. Keep that in mind. So we know. Also check out TradingAgent.com. Again, this is what we're doing here. We're turning profits into properties and passive income. It's not complicated. Again, the goal is not to try to hit a grand slam on every trade. It's to consistently make money, like Jesse Livermore, if you ever read Reminiscent Stock Operator, and doing what the market does. Again, you can absolutely destroy the market if you do what the market's doing. But if you're always trying to fight it and you're always bullish, or you're always bearish, or you're always kind of have like this mindset of sentiment about your emotions controlling you, it gets really hard. You eventually get blown out. Again, people get blown out at some point, and the market will humble everybody. It's humbled me. So we know next week it's basically zero. I mean, is that 2% earlier? Now you're at 1. So not happen. Nothing next. And again, we know there are rate cuts starting to get priced in for later in the year, but what the Fed will talk about will be pretty important. Bitcoin, as I've said, when it failed here, don't be surprised at some point you come down to the range lows. Now you have a potential retest low intra channel, is this how I would call it. Do you want to trade off of it or not? Again, I really don't want to overtrade this, in my opinion. I'm waiting for the bottom, or I'm waiting for it to get over the 92,000. Because again, if it gets over 92,000 after a consolidation period, it's probably going to the next level of upness. What up, dog? And again, if it drops here and it chops here and it forms a bottom, even better. Again, I just don't like to trade between in ranges, because then it turns into a mind fuck. Because what you can see is when you get into ranges, you can play the game. And notice here, same thing. The only, like, once it was ready, it was time to go. You didn't have to overthink it. So you either waited for the range lows, set tight stops, or wait for the range highs and wait for it to break out. Same kind of thing. Keep it simple, stupid. Oil seems to be holding up pretty well. Again, we have some great positions in the oil service names. They're looking good. Natty Gas pulling back after a pretty solid run. Again, I would like to see this lower, but I don't have a magic bottle, a magic genie that I can make wishes upon, and I don't look into a crystal ball that knows for anything sure, but I would love to see lower prices in time. I believe that would be screaming deals. Screaming! So dollar, as we talked about, I'm going to get into it. The dollar had a nice drop the last couple weeks. Now it's basing due to maybe bounce with the Feds, and then after that, we'll see. Again, I personally don't care about the dollar, and then I just want to know the direction. The trend seems to be down. And if there's big volatility in the dollar, I watch it. TLT, as we talked about, watching what happens in this blue zone. If you want to buy it, seems like a solid trade with tight stops. Again, I like low risk, high reward trades. Let me repeat, it's a probability based game, and I like low risk, high reward trades. Now the bond market, you say, might not be that exciting, but you could play the UBT, or you could play, again, many different vehicles. VIX, as we talked about, largest put position I've ever seen. Do you think they're just going to let that go? We talked about the 2-day range. We talked about it pulling back, and here we go. VIX, talked about the bull trap in it. Coming right back down. You're welcome. Again, this is, whether it was 1 day or 2, I don't know how long this bounce is going to be, but it could be the bottom for a near term. You don't know. I've said this is possible. This could be the bottom into the quarter, and we could rally. Again, we'll get into the levels, and you have to track them. But it's not rocket science here. If you're just staying endlessly bearish because you're like, oh, Trump's going to tweet something and do something, blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, it's now getting, again, it's not completely priced in. I know that. But again, the whole thing about the government going to shut down, they want to pay themselves. They always do, guys. Keep an eye on it. All right, so let's get into the spider. SPY, right? We talked about this 0.618 would be probably the next best reference for support. You got it. And now today's action, you got it. Okay, so the next area you need to watch for. The gap fill in the 200-day, it's not rocket science. What happens when it gets here? Again, I'll just show you guys. I'll do this live. Put an alert in. What happens here? Well, the next one would be somewhere up in here. Do you see how easy? Just let it come to you. Now, if it doesn't get there, that's great. But keep in mind, along the way, in a trend, if I believe this is a downtrend, people are like, oh, it's always V bottoms. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, there's no just always the same. It's always V's or always, no. There's multiple, there's the head and shoulders bottom. There's the double bottom. There's the chop bottom. There's a lot of different bottoms and tops. And typically in bull trends, they are V's. But I don't think we're in a bull trend. So I don't think it should be a V. It'll be a chop bottom because that'll confuse the bears and the bulls. Now going up, how far? That's the question we have to ask. So keep an eye on it. Know your levels. QQQ, same thing. Just staying endlessly bearish is kind of stupid. But not saying that it could just fail back testing the trend line. No one's saying that. Again, the Qs could start to lag. I mean, that's as I've said, my biggest theme is when money starts to rotate, it ain't going back into tech. And people get pissed off when I say that, but we'll see. Now, this is where I'd be watching for, right? If we can get back above the trend line, then the next resistance is somewhere up in here, right? We zoom out, and then it's going to be somewhere up in here, right? And here comes the 20-day. As we've always talked about, the 20-day becomes resistance when a trend is down. So I would be adding an alert around 493. And if we get there, that makes sense if you wanted to start some shorts or close some longs or wanted to just keep an eye on it. Keep it simple, stupid. IWM. We talked about no way it was going to be 7 straight weeks of down. You did get it, but if you did buy yesterday on the lows, as we talked about, there was a trade here. Nice bounce. Like I said, IWM never had 7 straight weeks of down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess technically it is 7. We'll see what happens here. Keep an eye on it. Again, oversold position. Not saying like go out here and go crazy and we're going to new all-time highs. But even in the downtrend, you get the bounces. Dia. Thought about this one was just kind of looking like poo-poo and do the bounce. Cool. Gold. This is where, again, I don't trust second quarter action. Gold continues up. Again, I mean, a year from now, I'm not really worried about it, but seasonality, if there's a truce, I mean, ceasefire, a few little things the government, agrees to, I think they're agreeing to pay it now, going to agree to a continuing resolution. Could this pull back? I mean, today, silver did not move at all, which, again, not surprised, right? High and tight is okay. Would love to see the trend build. Keep an eye on it. Miners, if you got to trade them, you trade them. We talked about this, but here we go. You got to break out. You need to be getting over the old highs, and the old highs being the old highs from, I think it was like November, October. You're at them. So doji, can you get a doji sandwich, or is that a top? The only thing that's a little scary for me is when I look at gold, GLD, especially like today's candle was real small, and the volume is real big. Keep an eye on it. AEM, right? I feel like this should be ripping. It's not. Again, not to say it can't go. It's just I'd be a little skeptical. I'd be raising my stops. AG, same kind of thing. Doesn't look like you didn't see the follow through day, but again, these have had nice moves. So if it needs to digest, Newmont, watch what happens. The 200-day, I'd be probably watching 45 area pass. And it feels like it's ready to go, but is it ready to go? This is the question. It feels like a weird, awkward cup and handle. Can you get over it? Can you get over it? Can you get over it? Keep an eye on it. Taiwan Semi, as we've talked about, at the lows, chopping around, making higher lows. Probably do the bounce. I'd be watching what happens when you get up into this. Come on, let me draw it. 20-day, 200-day area. And gap fill. Makes sense. Micron, we talked about you could buy the range lows. Congratulations. Look at that. Even in this shit market, look at Micron going from 86 to 102. Now, be careful. Micron has earnings on Thursday. But you're welcome. Again, this is the thing, right? Like if you didn't have your head up your butt thinking it only can go lower, you missed some really good trades here. AMD, I don't know. This one sucks. I don't know. It's just dead money. Look at Nucor, or sorry, NVIDIA. It's my short of 2023, my short. But I mean, I'm like, it's due to bounce. Channel low, 0.618. Look at the last 4 days. Zinc. Like things you don't see if the market's about to implode. Now, I might watch it for lagging next week, but I'd watch. I mean, can we get to the channel high? That would be a pretty sick spot. If you could get, man, I'll set a freaking alarm. If you can get something over 130, that might be a great short. SMCI has earnings next week. Please be careful. This one is just all over. I don't even want to talk about it. Intel, we talked about the CEO bowing out. Cool. They're going to get bought out. I don't know, what's the right premium for it? Personally, don't think there is much, but again, someone might be stupid enough to overpay. I mean, I think it's worth 22, 23, so we'll see what happens. AVGO, holding the 200-day again. Apple will not be using their chips in the future. They're trying to deal their own, so keep an eye on it. SMH, right, starting to build off the lows. Again, things you don't see if the market was about to blast off down. Adobe drops on earnings. Okay, maybe you have a 2-day. That one's tough. I don't even know. I don't like the gap downs, and then, I mean, yeah, big ones on earnings. We'll see. They take a couple days. They three-day rule. If you've been following me, you ever heard of that 3-day rule? Let's come back and check it out in 3 days. Apple said, watch what happens here. Now, again, I personally thought these were good spots to buy if you got stopped out. It happens. But then we're like, well, there's the next level. This is why when you layer into a position, you don't go, all right, Dan, I'm all in, motherfucker. I'm buying all 5,000 whatever shares I can do. No. If you bought a small amount, at the bottom, again, it's hard to pick bottoms. I do it about 30% of the time with efficiency. And you layer in. If you got stopped out, you got stopped out. You put $2 stop or whatever. Boom. Now you do it again. You watch the 209, filling the gap. I mean, there you go. Zinger. Amazon, same. I mean, again, all these trades, like, here we go. Seems to be chopping around. Whether it's going to bounce a bunch, who knows? But it looks like it is definitely stabilizing near term. Meta, same thing. Watching the zones. AutoZone, CRM. This one has just been getting clobbered, but here it is, chopping around. Guggenheim, I think it makes sense if you want to start snacking here, right? In this blue zone, you're welcome. Microsoft said when the dollar's weakening, they typically do well. Now you're at the range lows. Look at that little baby engulfing bar. Looks pretty solid. And DAQ said this thing is toast. But hey, look at that. It's at the 200-day. Keep an eye on it. It should bounce in the oversold position. MicroStrategy. If you watch the 200-day, congratulations. Look at this shit. The next stop would be 320s. Congratulations, Netflix. I mean, again, but if you've been bearish the whole time and you really got screwed by some of the positions, Netflix seems to be holding up. Roblox, we talked about this one. Oversold 100-day. We'll see what happens. Not really that concerned about it. Just watching. Pan W. Really want the channel low to come in, but not. But chopping around. Tesla, we identified filling the gap. Again, I think I lost $13, $14 a share trying to pick the bottom, and then ultimately got the gap fill. Traded some on the gap up 2 days ago, sold some, was looking for dips, boom, got it. Booyah kashow. Now again, I'm not saying this is going to new all-time highs, but it's a great tradable spot to play the up. First, you need to get over 260, but if you bought around 217, it's a pretty solid trade. $33 approximately. That's pretty solid. Insight, again, I think this gets bought out at some point. That's the only reason why I talk about it. Unless I'm trying to see if there's any anomalies here. Nope, at the 200-day. HIMS, I mean, everybody loves this stock, and it's like it just keeps going lower. But it is, as I said, oversold. So if you want to play the bounce, it looks like the 100-day, the blue zone makes sense. Keep an eye on it. Palantir, this one's been really sneaky, right? Chopping around. Seems to be holding up after the gap up on Wednesday. So far, so good for bulls. Baba, again, I said high and tight is not bearish, but I feel like hopefully it fails. And this is me. Again, I can be wrong. I don't like Chinese stocks, period. I don't trust them. I trust them I trust them like a stripper with your wallet. No. So keep an eye on it. That's all. Coin, as we talked about, this one broke the trend line. Seems to be chopping. I mean, again, you filled some gaps. You've got a reference spot. McDonald's, this was hard because you broke out and then give it all back. But you're holding the 100-day. Keep an eye on it. DKNG, talked about oversold bounce to some of these names. Look like they're chopping around. Airbnb and Bizzle. And then this is what will show you the relative strength, right? And then relative weakness. Airbnb, oversold inside day. Costco said yesterday, I thought it looks, I don't know where the bottom is, but it looks like you filled this. Did we fill this little baby gap? No. It's just a lot of red real quick. So we'll see what happens here. I'm not going to say that you can't bounce or you couldn't go lower. I don't think I'd be sitting here go, oh, it's just going to fall off a cliff. Starbucks, talked about shorting this one up in the 117 area. Missed it. All right, we'll let it bounce. I mean, this is the thing is, like, I can't short lows. I just don't do that. Just like I don't chase highs, because how many times I'm going to be more likely wrong than right. Now, again, at highs and bull markets, trading around chop zones, it's a little different. But if I'm just chasing high after high after high, that's when I've gotten burned more times than not. FedEx, again, this makes sense down here, holding this 240 channel low area. Caterpillar, some folks were looking at this. Makes sense. Again, I mean, another name that's been bludgeoned. Look, feels like a little head and shoulders bottom here. Do y'all see this? Left shoulder, right shoulder. Here's your head. See what happens. 20-day clearly matters. Deer, this one's been acting pretty damn strong. Seems okay. Nucor, right? Chopping around. Again, I mean, if you zoom out on these things, they've got some interesting spots to watch. X has been holding up pretty well. Keep an eye on it. Said, the other day, VALE, is it going to go up in a straight line? No, but I'd be watching the 50-day. 50-day, so good. Now, if you can stay above the 20, 100-day cross that seems to be getting stuck on, here comes the 200-day. Again, does that look like shit? No. Looks like it's been building. Arrow, same thing, building a base. Looking pretty good. CCJ seems to be holding 40. I'd like to see it lower, but I can't make magic happen. I try. Magic doesn't pay the bills doing what the market's doing. CF, again, I like the risk reward down here. We've talked about Mosaic. Ooh. A lot of people are like, I don't know, Dan. If you buy it at 22, 23, zinger. Look at this all week, straight up, motherfucker. Excuse my language. NTR, again, holding up, chopping around. AA, another one that we like long term, seems to have found some support here near term. Again, I don't know if I would chase them up, but just watch them. XLFer, we said this was due to bounce. You're welcome. JP Morgan, this is due to bounce. You're welcome. Watch the 200-day. Now, I said I'm not going nuts here, but just watch them. You have to acknowledge the action. You just can't be endlessly bearish or bullish. Morgan Stanley, same thing. Bank of America, same thing. Goldman Sachs. Chop, right? But holding at levels. If you want to trade it, go right ahead. Carry, here we go. Again, like due to bounce, fills some gaps. See it to the left from October. Nice trading. Again, we talked about, some of these copper names, right? Looking pretty strong. FCX, right? Some of these names looking okay. You're welcome if you've been trading them. High five. Very nice. XBI holding up pretty well. The Jets, Benny and the Jets. This is one we're watching, right? Oversold. I mean, I'm not really big on this one, but worth a watch. HB, again, housing, a little sneaky here. New lows. Again, I don't see really much of a reprieve in housing unless rates go significantly lower. So my opinion on is that whatever bounce it gets, it's dead cat bounce. That's my assumption. Solar, right? Chopping around. Sedge, chopping around. ENPH, chopping around. Again, I don't really trust solar. I mean, I like first solar around here. Keeping on that. HY Jizzle, again, we talked about this one. Just, you got to be out of your mind to buy corporate debt at the highs. All right, nice little bounce on the pullbacks. Let's get to my sector that I'm really following right now. Oil, feels like it's basing. Natural gas, again, I don't really care if it pulls back because it's had a nice run. If you shorted the KLD in the 80s, you're like, what do I do now if I took some profits? You just watch it. See a big bounce. Cool. XOP, fudge, yeah. This is one of my bigger positions, is Gush. That feels real good. Now we were like, where is it going to go to? See, this is the 200 week. This is also a level that's important to me, around 132. I would expect we get there, and then I will start hedging some Gush. And again, if you bought Gush, right down, I mean, man, I was on top of this one down in the 21s, upper 21s. Awesome. And then got the close and was like, yep, let's go. There we go. Congratulations. And then, but we also saw with other names. We're like, CVE looks like it's bottoming, right? And here it goes. It's way, it's holding up. Valero, we talked about the gasoline names. They weren't crashing down. Still not crashing down. MPC, this one wasn't crashing down, right? ExxonMobil. Wow, look at ExxonMobil. Actually had a green week, right? Man, if it gets over 112, next level. BP, if you follow the channel and you bought BP right around 31, look at this action. Do you like oil and gas? Now, again, I wouldn't chase it. You can't do it. But do you see why I'm not? People are like, are you trading around? I'm like, we haven't even hit the levels that seem like it's slowing down on yet. It's just coming off the bottom. So why would I get too excited and take profits? Oxy, if you bought it in the 44s, yeah, you got a double buy. Man, this one's a little, man, you could probably add this one right now, right here. Keep an eye on it, right? EQT, another one. Keep an eye on it. Like basing, about to break out to new all-time highs. I mean, relative strength, that looks pretty strong. Last but not least, Flex LN Jizzle. You're welcome. Again, 11% dividend yield, worth a hold maybe. Keep an eye on it. So again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Always here to help. Have an amazing weekend. Do yourself a favor. Pat yourself on the back if you had a great week. Know that next week is an FOMC meeting. You have some economic data. It's triple witching OPEX. Don't go nuts. Monday and Tuesday, manage your positions. If you hit levels, cool. If not, just be patient. Know your risk reward. All right. Have an amazing weekend. Talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.